topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I am your host, Steve-O. We have got a great show for you coming up. This is our estate planning show. It's the attorney, Julia Dean, and sitting in for her is Kala. Good afternoon, Kala.
Hey, how are you?
Well, we hope you're feeling better.
I am. 'Tis the season, though, right? To be sick and everything. It always seems like everybody gets sick when you're the busiest. So,
Kala, don't get sick during the holiday season.
I know that's when all the cookies taste the best and all the snacks taste the best. And when you're sick, you can't even taste them, you know? So, and luckily it's gone. It's just a little case of strep. So, it is.
Well, we hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and this will be the last show before Christmas and New Year's Eve. So we want to absolutely wish everybody a happy Christmas, a blessed Christmas, and Happy New Year. Hey, Cal, tell everybody about the Dean Law Firm.
Sure. So Julia, who is our supervising attorney, it's her firm. She has actually been practicing for 37 years. She's always practiced in the area of estate planning, probate, and elder care. So probate is when you pass away, what happens to your estate. Your will, hopefully, is what dictates what happens at probate. We also have another attorney. His name is Jonathan Sterneman. He's been practicing for 12 years, also all in the same area. And then we have myself, who I've been practicing for 8 years, all in the concentration of estate planning, elder law, and probate. So, and we've got 3 paralegals and a legal assistant. And we've been, like I said, we've been open for, Julia's been doing this for 36 years. I think she's had the firm for about 20. Just a great place to work. We really try really hard to have a personal relationship with our clients. And that's truly what honestly attracted me to this firm, right? I liked the attention to detail. I liked Julia's willingness to always answer a client's questions and to really put their needs first, which seems so obvious that that's what an attorney should do, right? But it's not the case always. And I think here that's what's so refreshing about our firm. So I hope that is also the consensus of our clients, but we think we do a really good job at trying to just have that kind of personal relationship, because I always tell clients, estate planning is interesting because it's your whole life. You've worked your entire life, whether you've saved $100 or $1 billion, it is your life's work, and we want to protect that. And I think that is what makes us different and what sets us apart is truly, I think that's how all 3 of our attorneys and our legal assistants and paralegals approach these topics and approach the clients. It's not just a faceless thing in estate planning. We get people and we get their kids and their pets and all these fun things to learn about and talk to the clients about and understand what is important to them. And so I think that's just kind of who we are in a nutshell.
What I love about your firm is, and we've been doing the show together for 3 years now, is Julia's got such a heart for people. And I think especially in estate planning, you've really got to care about others.
It's true. When I went to law school, and you don't know what you want to do in law school, right? I just wanted to be a tax attorney because I thought, ooh, I like numbers. I realized very quickly there are no people in the tax world. You just sit on the phone with the IRS. And so I then switched to estate planning, my focus, when I started to actually practice, because you're exactly right. It's the people involved. It's hearing about their families. It's hearing about their kids and what kind of special requirements maybe a kid needs, how to protect kids from themselves. All those things can be dealt with. And a lot of times clients don't know where to start, right? They have this idea, they want a will, but they don't know what it should say. They don't know that they can protect their kids to some degree from themselves, even after their passing. So I think that's where it always starts, is the conversation is, who are you and who do you love and why do you love them and what are their issues, So I think, yeah, Julia has an amazing heart, and you can definitely see that in our work and our relationship with our clients.
You know what I think throws people off about your area of law is the word estate and then a planning.
Mm-hmm.
They think, oh, I've got to have a mansion to sit down with your firm, and that just isn't the case.
That's so true. And we see that a lot. People who don't think they have enough, or they haven't accumulated enough, they think, oh, it'll just get figured out when I pass away. And it will, but it will be expensive, and it'll be lengthy, and it'll be time consuming, and it'll be harder on the people you've left behind. It's almost a gift in a way to the people you're going to leave your stuff to in a will. It's almost a gift to them to write it in a will too, because otherwise we're going to probate and we are going to court with no will. We have to employ another attorney who has to decide who all of the heirs are. So imagine a situation, little grandma passes away, no will. We got to go figure out who she's related to, who are her children, who are her grandkids, that's a lengthy process that requires two different attorneys. And when there's two different attorneys, there's two people you got to pay. So if you can do it during your life, even if you don't have as much as you think you do, or you don't have enough, you do, because you should always protect what you have accumulated. And like I said, make it easier for those that you leave behind, because when you pass, they're grieving. And if they have a probate to-do list that's a mile long, they can't always start their grieving process. And I think that's really important to us as planners. And then also on the probate side is, we want to get people through this process so that they can start their own growth and healing process and everything like that. And so many people can't do that until they've started the probate process. And going through probate is just so much easier with a will than it is without one, unfortunately.
I never could understand. This is the greatest example, and I've brought this up many times on your show. A person like Prince, the singer Prince,
Mm-hmm.
who had millions and millions of dollars and never sat down with all of his managers telling him how to run their business, didn't even have a simple will.
Oh, I know. And imagine the legal team that he had around him. Not one person thought, hey, you should write a will, and with all your millions.
Amazing.
And the things that Prince went through, even though he had probably a $15-20 billion estate, are the same things that a person with a $100 estate goes through. It's just, he had the money to pay for those things. People with the $100 don't. So if you get in and you write a will beforehand during your life, it is a cheaper situation than or more affordable than going through probate with no will. And your stuff gets to go where you want it.
Yes.
If you have a estranged child, or if you've got a sibling with a drug addiction or money issues that you don't want your stuff to end up in their hands because you don't want them to end up in a worse situation than they're already in, you can cut them out for their own good, or you can put it in a trust so that maybe they can still benefit, but that they can't overspend or use it on things that you wouldn't want them to use it on. So there are so many ways that even if you have some weird intricacies in your family that you think, oh, that's going to be too difficult, it's not. We've seen it all. We know how to deal with it. And if we don't, I promise you, we will find you an answer. We will find you a way to deal with the things that you can deal with if we haven't seen it before.
I got to tell you, one of the things that really turned me on about your firm is when I asked there's a lot of different areas of estate planning. And when I asked Julia what areas that she really felt closest to, she said special needs. And that right there told me how important, how amazing your firm is.
Yeah. So, and that brings up a good point. We think about estate planning, we think about a will, or we think about a trust, but you're right. There's so many other little parts of it. There's some real estate portions of it. There's special needs planning. There's probate. There's elder law. All that's kind of wrapped up into the estate planning world. But special needs is something near and dear to all of our hearts here, because special needs planning is for beneficiaries or children or people who need a little bit extra help, whether it be because they are disabled to some degree, or if they are receiving benefits from government-based or need-based programs such as Social Security, disability, things like that. We can, if you come to see us, we can usually get your beneficiary, the person that you love, covered and still be able to accept those needs-based programs, but then also to benefit from things that you have. It's called special needs trusts. If you're Googling out there on your own, if this is a situation that affects you, but call us, talk to us. We can tell you, we'll tell you the ins and outs. We'll explain, that there's different types of special needs trusts, ones that the person can create for themselves. So yeah, I think special needs planning is so important because it's planning for people who are unable to do it for themselves. And I think that that's where we can really help people too. And really, like I said, I hate to, repeat myself, but that's why I picked estate planning. I want to help people. And I know Julia and Jonathan do as well. And our whole team here, that's really the lens we always operate through, is how can we help somebody?
Well, that's an area that's very dear to my heart. People don't understand about guardianship.
Oh,
I had, we're in Florida, here in Texas,
sure.
But I had to learn the hard way. We have an autistic daughter. No one ever told me that when she turns 18, all that needs to be done. There's not a course or a class that you take for that. And I only wish I'd have known earlier.
Right.
So people, who have a son or daughter who's special needs, and what happens when they turn 18, that is so important that they sit down with your firm.
Yeah, that brings up so at 18, whether the child has any kind of incapacity, they are an adult, right? So they can take care of themselves in the eyes of the law. But what if they're unable to take care of themselves, even though they're 18? That's when the parent comes into play. But parents don't know. They just always assume, I just take care of my kid. Of course I can. Why wouldn't I be allowed to take care of my child? But it's kind of counterintuitive, I guess. But yeah, you've got to go to court. You've got to get a guardianship over that child that you've had a guardianship over unofficially for 18 years, but now it's got to be official because they're 18. And I use the example of Britney Spears. We talked about Prince. Britney Spears had that guardianship over her. So, it doesn't always have to be for kids. Older people, when they get to end of life, deal with dementia and Alzheimer's and all those other not fun to talk about situations. And you can plan for those situations in advance. You don't know if you're going to get Alzheimer's in 20 years. Nobody has any idea. So you can plan for it. And we do that in a revocable living trust. And we're happy to talk about that. But that can definitely avoid some of those situations. But yes, when it's a child, you're going to court. And the sooner you can start that process to some degree, the easier it is. And if you don't know you're supposed to start that process, you just don't do it. So you're exactly right. I mean, and sometimes it's just a call to us and just ask us, hey, do I need to do this? Because I love to tell clients, hey, you know what? Nope, you don't need to do it. You don't need to pay us. You're good to go. You're covered already. We love to say that too, as much as we love to, have new clients, but we love to tell people, you know what? You're taken care of. You've done everything the right way and you don't need us. We love to tell people that sometimes too. And so just give us a call. When in doubt, call an attorney. You don't always have to call us. Of course, we much prefer that you do, but call somebody you trust and somebody that's the biggest thing nowadays. You can read reviews and see, what the attorneys kind of stand for through their reviews. And I know our reviews speak really highly of us. And so when you're out there doing Googling, you research as much as you can on your own and ask pointed questions to attorneys. But it's also okay to walk into an attorney and just say, I don't know what I should ask you. I have people tell me that all the time. And I'm like, okay,
Yes.
then I'm going to start at square one and I'm going to explain to you. And then you just stop me when you've got questions. And that's how we kind of approach those, because some people just don't know what to ask. And you're not supposed to always know. So that's why you have us.
From personal experience, I'm going to tell people, do not try to handle this yourself. It is a very complex, when we're talking of guardianship, get a law firm like the Dean Law Firm and let them handle this for you. Because, oh my God, Kayla, it was a nightmare before we got an attorney. And I just got to warn people of that, because, if you look at the statistics of children being born autistic, the numbers are very high.
They are, yes. Yeah. And the numbers are going up for whatever reason. And that's exactly right. You do it on your own. And I tell people, you can always try it on your own, but I promise it's going to be harder. And it's probably going to, once you've tried it on your own, it's probably going to be more expensive sometimes for the attorney to fix what you did wrong. And I know everybody's heart's in the right spot and they just, they think they're doing what they need to do. But those guardianship proceedings, it's accounting every year. In Texas, you have to account for all the money that you've spent on the person. You have to tell the court why you did what you did, where you went. There's a lot of court oversight to those things. And if you don't have an attorney doing those things, you may not be doing them right. You may never get a true guardianship over, you may never get it done. You may never get a true guardianship over your child. And that's just a scary kind of vulnerable situation you really don't need to be in.
Do you have to keep a log in Texas? Do you have to keep a log for the state? It's a daily log.
Yeah.
I know we do here in Florida. And I'm telling you, do not let this go and try to come up with it at the end of the year. It's just, you've got to keep up with it daily.
That's exactly right. It's an accounting. And basically you're accounting to the court where you've spent money on this person, basically showing that you've done a good job taking care of the person who needs to be taken care of. So it's designed to protect. And that's a great thing. But it's tedious and it's a lot of stuff. And if you're not trained in it, you're going to do it wrong. And the court, it's just going to create more back and forth with the court and more court fees and more attorney's fees on the court side. And yeah, it's just such a much easier process when you can get an attorney.
One of the other things that Julia said when we were first beginning is she said, I want to keep my clients out of probate. Now, if you've never gone through probate can be really, really expensive. So to hear an attorney go, I want to keep you out of probate, that was so refreshing.
Yeah, and the ways we avoid probate are cheaper in the long run than probate for sure. And that's what we tell people when they come in. Also, that probate process is scary. If I pass away tomorrow, my brother is the beneficiary of my everything because I have no kids, anything like that. But if I pass away tomorrow, they can freeze my bank accounts, which they should, right? Bank of America is going to freeze my personal accounts because we don't want anything coming in and out of that. But what that does is stop access to those funds until you go through probate. If you can avoid probate with a revocable living trust and other ways, you can have that immediate access to the next line of people. So when I pass away, my brother has funds of my own to bury me, to probate my estate, to, deal with any of those things. And that is so important. And again, it's just kind of dotting your I's and crossing your T's while you're alive, getting everything in order and everything in a organized fashion for the people that you're going to leave behind. And like I said, that's a present in itself. That's a gift to them in itself.
We've got a few minutes left. We're coming now towards the end of the year. What are some of the things that people should be thinking about in regards to estate planning?
Sure. Well, first question is, do you have an estate plan, right? If you do, when when was it written? Is it tied? Have things changed? Do you have any new children? Do you have any new grandkids? Do you have children with new needs that they didn't have when you wrote the will? If you don't have a will, you just need to come in and chat with us and talk about, what it is that you want. What are your goals? Do you want to avoid probate, or is there a different goal that you have in mind that we can meet instead? But yeah, the first step is, what do you have? And if you don't have anything, you kind of go down to the next step, which is get something in place. But if you've already got something, a lot of times people put those on a shelf and they do not think about them for so long. And that can be detrimental too. I mean, divorces can happen. Kids get divorced. You may have your daughter-in-law in your will, and now she's no longer married to your son. Is that still something you want to do? Is that still somebody you want to receive part of your estate? So it's really, although the will can last couldn't last your entire life, or a trust can last your entire life, sometimes these documents need to be updated throughout your life. And that's really important. And that's something I think people tend to forget about, because they put our paperwork on a shelf and move on with their lives. And that's okay too. But just think every 5 to 7 years, think about your will on the shelf. So,
we have been running your phone number if you're watching on YouTube right now. But for those of you who are listening on radio or podcast, the phone number is 281-277-3326. That's 281-277-3326. The firm is in Sugarland, but gosh, with Zoom and everything, you can handle cases all across Texas.
Yeah, we do, especially our planning. That's really easy. Probate, it can get a little bit more difficult, but yeah, all the entire Houston, Sugarland, the Woodlands, all that area, and then outside the entire state of Texas, when it comes to estate planning, we can definitely help.
Well, Kala, you did a wonderful job. She said to me, I said, how do you pronounce your name? She said, it's like the flower. Hey, I'm a guy. We don't know about flowers.
Sorry. I always just say that. But yeah, it's calla, like the calla lily. So
yes. Anyway, what a great job. Again, the name of the firm is the Dean Law Firm. You'll be back again with us next month. Have a wonderful holiday. Wish Julia a happy and blessed Christmas for us. And we'll see you next month.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So
thank you, Kala.
Y'all have a good day.
That's the Julia Dean Law Firm. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, oh my God, this is without a doubt my favorite topic to talk about. We'll be right back.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
Hey, welcome. This is the Ask the Expert show. I'm your host, Steve-O. This show is probably the dearest show to my heart. There's never enough time. We'll get finished with the show, and I could have done it for another hour. We're talking about health. This is probably one of the most important shows that we do. I have suffered with it. We were able to find several years ago one of the top MDs in the country that specializes in weight loss. Now, I know you've heard everything in the book, and you've probably tried hundreds of ways to lose weight. It is the most frustrating thing. I understand where you're coming from. But we found one of the greatest doctors, and Dr. Vivek Gupta, that I cannot believe we've been doing the show for 2 years, and I still learn so many new things from him. And I'm telling you, throw out, I don't care how many things you've tried, throw it all out. We're going to start from scratch, and we're going to walk you through it. Let me welcome you to Dr. Gupta. We're waiting for him to. There he is.
Hey, how's it going, Steve?
Did you hear that opening?
I heard parts of it. Dude, like, I see Zoom patients every day, but every time I'm on your show, somehow I have tech. Like, I don't know what's going on.
You know what, Dr. Gupta, I got to tell you, I'm telling people, because I know what it's like. I don't care how many things you've tried to lose weight.
Yeah.
I know it's frustrating.
Yes.
Throw all that out. Let's just start from scratch.
Yes.
Because what you have discovered, and you know, your story is amazing, Dr. Gupta. You're a very high qualified internal medicine doctor. And, you know, I know you still practice that, but you gave up a lot of your time to go into weight loss.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Steve. That's really kind and generous. So I started as a hospital doctor, and I was actually in management, working for a company and managing multiple, like different, like a PT clinic, PCP, skilled care nursing facilities. But, when in a lot of my work as an internal medicine physician, you catch people after decades of disease. Right. And so there's like not as much. I mean, I don't mean to, discredit, like we still help a lot of people, but, I got into this field and I instantly fell in love with it. So I've struggled with weight multiple times in my life as well. But I realized that there's another path, because in medicine, previously there was so much nihilism around this, right? They were like, you can't do anything about weight. And weight turns out to be the upstream cause of so many different disease processes. So, I started this clinic in 2020, and now we have 2 offices. We're boarded in 15 different states. And really the goal is to become nationwide. But we start with the truth, which is that this is hard for a reason. And the reason is because our food environment sucks, right? It's terrible. It triggers us all the time. Our bodies, we're not made for it, right? Rather, these food companies learn how to hack our bodies. And so that's why 70% of us struggle. So I think, unfortunately, the way to deal with this traditionally has been a lot of judgment, criticism, shame, and perfectionism, right? Like, you can't do this, you can't eat this, you can't eat this time of day, you can't eat the carb, you can't eat whatever, right? And it turns out when you actually look at the science, that's completely wrong, right? And it's, what we do instead is what I say, we start with the biological compassionate model, and that this is hard for a reason. And what we have to do is practice that compassion for ourselves and our lives. And from that place, we can figure out what the 1, 2, 3% changes we need, right? But too often that is hidden from us because we're conditioned to feel bad about ourselves. And that's just very demotivating, right? So that's what we do at Mindful Wellness. I do it, my health coach, my NPs, my staff, everybody. We take great pains to really practice this compassion-based approach. It's been wildly successful, right? Because it really creates the sustainable change in people's lives.
We never, ever get political on this show, but I've had so many people who saw that you're going to be coming on the show with the same question, and it's about Kennedy.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to help us at all with food?
I mean, I'm pretty skeptical he is,
okay,
just in his history and who he is. And, like already the agricultural secretary, right, is not like someone who will do that, right? The one who is appointed. So I'm pretty skeptical of him, but like I get that the point he makes though is correct, right? That big food, all of this stuff is destroying our bodies and our kids and everyone, right? That's not wrong. And so, I mean, I don't think he'll unfortunately be able to do that. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that just in general, like the fact that all of these companies everywhere triggers our mind, like puts this stuff that triggers our mind all the time, right? That's the central issue. And then really, like we're all given the message that, oh, you should be trying hard. You should be working out more. You should be getting up early. You should not eat that, right? But our minds are just made to do that, right? They're made to like eat and like take in these calories. And they also like, I think people really don't understand how energy dense these calories are, right? Like 70 years ago, we didn't have calories that when we ingest them, we absorb every molecule of them and they get turned to fat, right? And so I think that's just really important. Being, you know, I think obviously, I mean, it's the truth, right? There's like so much evidence it's the truth, but more than that, it's also operationally, like we need to know that because, you know, I have so many patients and they're like, you know, I'm sitting there, like I just remember a story early on, like she was just like looking in the mirror, feeling bad about herself. And then she went to the pantry and ate some chips and she was like, why did I do that? And it just makes complete sense because the central issue of being a human is we all seek to escape suffering, right? And all this food is amazing, right? It just like it triggers that dopamine hit, amazing in a way that it triggers our mind.
Yes.
So when we make ourselves feel worse and worse and worse, you enter the cycle, right? You eat, you like feel worse about yourself, you want to eat more. And it's just like we're all trapped in this like roller coaster, right? Or this wheel rather. And I think the only way out is like understanding what the world is, right? And understanding that no, it's not your fault, right? All of this stuff is going on. And I want to make it very clear that doesn't mean you can't do anything. I'm just saying the way that we have to start figuring out what to do is understanding that and feeling compassion for ourselves, because from that place, we help our patients figure out the answers, right? The answers are in them. We help figure that out, but the only way is to lift that shroud of negativity. And from that place, then you can kind of say, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this.
Dr. Gupta, I got to tell you, from a guy who worked out religiously, watched my diet, as I got older, it became harder to do. And I wanted to bring this up to you today. We had a singer, Casey and the Sunshine Band, came on our show. And I got to tell you, I've got pictures from when he was on 10 years ago. And I saw him the other night, and he's literally gained 150 pounds. I almost didn't recognize him, Dr. Gupta. And, you know, I look back on some of the things that I learned that I would tell people about is, you know, if you've got chips in your pantry, because you brought up chips, you're going to eat them. They're there.
Yes.
And, you know, if people would learn to stop putting some of these things in their pantry, because I guess the mind wins over every time. You know, you don't want to do it, but you do.
I mean, I would say that a little bit differently.
Teach that.
Well, I would say that differently. I would first, you know, explore the reasons behind why the chips were bought in the first place. A lot of times it's habit.
Yes.
A lot of times there's kids, a lot of things, right? And we can brainstorm around that too by like keeping stuff somewhere and not like there and never going in somewhere, like using some strategic search to deal with that. Or is there anxiety behind that, right? Is that like the break that like at night that people eat or whatever, right? And so like we have to go behind, like, I think like, I haven't said this in the past meetings I realized, but I'm going to say it now. Like, I think that we have to really understand that humans fundamentally want to be well and healthy.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
There's a lot of stuff above that, but I think too much of the messaging is like, you're not doing this, you want to be unhealthy. And that's not true. People want to be well and healthy, but all of these factors are playing a role. So that's the thing that you have to uncover and talk about and process and use tools and skills and medicines and all this stuff to try to help, you know, brainstorm. But I think like, if you understand that, for a patient, it makes it so much easier to kind of see like, okay, it's not like them, it's not their fault, right? It's just, you have to see like, these are just the things in their lives, and we can brainstorm around and use creative solutions around all that stuff.
Dr. Gupta, I've learned from you that stress is a cause
Yes.
for weight gain.
Yes.
How do you deal with that with your clients?
Again, by forming deep relationships with them and getting to know them, right?
Because everybody's different.
Yeah, everyone's different, and kind of brainstorming using both evidence and using medication and non-medication approaches to deal with all of that, right? Nothing's off the table. Like everything from, traditional SSRIs or something to like coaching people to write emails to their boss, like telling them like they've been working all these and are confident they need help, right? And I think like I said, nothing's off the table, to breathing exercises and mindfulness, to like talking to partners, helping with rearranging, some of their lives to help things or getting help or whatever, right? So like, I think you like put it all on the table, and like we're coaches, therapists, like mindfulness instructors, using all of these different ways, we try to figure out, okay, how can we get this done in your life, right? And the directionality isn't that this person needs to try harder or do more. It's how can we make it easier in your life?
I got to tell you, I'm so upset. We've talked about this before too. I'm so upset with insurance companies, because when it comes to overweight, it could lead to heart attacks, strokes,
Yes.
Diabetes, things that could kill you.
Yeah.
And it seems like that they would want to take care of the situation now, because if it's let go, it's going to be more costly to them in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, it sucks. I'm not defending any insurance companies, but I do think that like, it's just like, it's the rest of like all of capitalism. It's just the financial incentives, because like
Yes.
50% of their patients qualify for the meds, and they cost like $1,200 a month, and like they immediately pay for it versus later. I don't know. It all sucks. The whole system is like not.
Yeah.
So it's like a bunch of different reasons for it, but yeah, it's not ideal.
But as an internal medicine doctor, you see all this, that weight gain causes
100%.
people.
I worked in the hospital last night. There were like 3 of my patients had various disease processes that were directly related to weight, right? That if they had it was my different role, it was in the hospital, but like, if we could treat them, in this way for weight, like they would like do so much, they would address so many of their disease processes they came in to the hospital with.
So I have to ask you this question, Dr. Gupta, because I'm on Ozempic. I'm not afraid to admit it. Sure. Why are so many people afraid to admit it, especially Hollywood people in your backyard? Yeah. Why are they afraid to admit that?
Yeah. So, I've been doing this for several years. So like, I think that so I do want to say everyone's entitled, because I have patients, right? Like, I think I want to make a difference between public figures and like private figures, right? Like, I think private figures, like everyone's entitled to their health privacy, right? Like if someone doesn't want to share it, they don't feel comfortable, and they're dealing with a lot of stuff. I do think public figures, again, that's probably true too, but I somewhat like dislike that they don't admit, because I think it just reinforces the willpower narrative, right? And I hate that. Like It just makes people feel like they did it, why can't I do it, right? Not to mention like the money to have a private chef or a personal trainer, all that stuff, right. So like that's like huge. Like even if they did it without any medicine, you still have structural factors that make it incredibly like different for people, right? Like, or like, there's personal trainers who talk, and it's like, okay, if my job was working out 7 hours a day, then that's like a different thing. Most of us have to do other jobs and have kids and have other things. So it's like impossible, right? So I think that I think societally, I would say the most upstream cause is, again, we're all conditioned with this willpower narrative, right? Like when we lose weight, the people who don't struggle, there's some special value or willpower or something. And it's just BS. If 70% of humans struggle with something, it clearly is not like an individual willpower thing, right? And as this food environment and this modern life goes everywhere in this world, out of 8 billion humans now, more people die of disease of too many calories, not too few. And that's everywhere, right? That's
Wow.
countries as diverse as ranging from Mexico to Germany to India to South Korea. It's everywhere in this entire world, to China. Like, all the countries are struggling with this, right? And again, I mean, there's exceptions, like Japan's an exception, but there's like a lot of South America, you know, there's just like a lot of different like countries, because it's really fundamental as we put all of these addictive, energy dense, cheap calories and have busy, stressful lives where the majority of our days are sitting from a computer. You could be a cop, a construction worker, a doctor, you know, a podcast host, right? Like, our jobs are just sitting in front of a computer nowadays. So like, that's kind of the modern world. And if you have that, it, like, to me, it makes complete obvious sense why we're all struggling with this issue.
You know, gosh, I swear when I do your show, I've got so many things that are going through my mind. Like, I want to make sure I touch on one of the things you've done in your practice is you've added a pediatrician to your to your practice.
Yes. So we really want to build this up. We're making a big push now. You know, I do want to talk in New Year's. We're going to have a lot of specials and stuff. So, you know, maybe at the beginning of January, we can talk about that also.
Yes.
So, but like, I think that we really want to address that, you know, population. And again, I've said this in the show many times, it's near and dear to my heart. I struggled with weight as a kid. I know what that felt like. And I just see so many kids. And more than that, like, you know, it's just, pediatricians, right? Often they don't get any training on dealing with this, and they don't have time. And it's just like, you know, this, the insurance system, you have like 15-minute appointments and all that. And then like parents go and there's like some specialized centers, but they have like waiting lists for like 7 months or something, right? So we really want to really build that up to help so many people, because I think, and you know, it sounds obvious, but it's also studies have shown this, is that like when you can reduce obesity in kids, you like help their entire life, right?
Yes.
Like you just have like, and again, I mean, of course, you know, all of the biological things, and especially with kids, now we're seeing like diabetes, sleep apnea, hypertension. So imagine, you know, when I said, like, when I see people in hospital and they've had like 30 years of little like sugar molecules affecting or hypertension, imagine if that's 60 years of that, right? Like, I mean, it's just like, the more time that your body is suffering from these conditions, the more injury it's getting slowly by slowly, right? But then conversely, if you can fix that, then it just completely changes someone's life, right? And of course, as a kid, like, I didn't think of any of that, but I thought of like, of psychologically and like socially and my confidence and everything, you know.
That kids like, are so inactive too nowadays. When I grew up, I mean, you wouldn't build a neighborhood without a sidewalk. Now there's no such thing as a sidewalk to go ride your bike or go skateboarding on.
I mean, that's a big, good public health point, right? Like, the built environment is just like terrible. And also like the screens, the phones, it all comes down to the phones, right? That's what it comes down to. And I mean, that's for adults.
I want to get, you've got a project that you're working on that you're raising money for. Can you explain that?
Oh, sorry, that just finished. It was the American Heart Association, so it was a fundraising drive. So I just finished it, but like basically, it was donating money to the AHA. I mean, you guys can go to their website and still donate to them.
Okay,
but it is, you know, it was just helping because, again, it's just part of my passion, and you know, that's what I like to do as well.
Dr. Gupta, I think what you do is so amazing. You have developed a concept that no one else is using. And I think it's so important. I know I've learned so much about weight from you. And, you know, we get a lot of letters, people going, I've tried everything, you know, nothing's going to, I mean, they're so defeated. And that makes your job so tough.
Understandably, right? Because it is defeating, and especially with all the messaging and everything, but it also makes my like job very gratifying, because I just saw a patient right before this call, 60 pounds, right? And like, that's just every day for us. Like another patient, she lost another like 60, 70 pounds. We're still getting her, like, she keeps losing weight. She's now walking with her sister like 4 times, going to the gym, like, you know, like having work-life balance. Before she was working every weekend. And now, like, you know, I coached her on that as well. We coached her on that. And so like, it's just so gratifying, right? Like it makes it, I mean, if it was easy, then it wouldn't be like, then this wouldn't be an issue, right? The fact that it's like challenging and we have been able to do it with so many people, we've treated more than 1,500 people, is just, it's really, really gratifying, because that's just over 1,500 lives literally changed. And it sounds grandiose, but it's also like, you like treat someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, like in 20 years you're preventing their heart attacks and strokes. So during those years, like how they present to the world, right, how they are, how they feel, and then like how their families, like in 20 years preventing that heart attack, their jobs, the economy, the world, right? It's just like, it sounds like really like grandiose again, but it is true. Like all those things scale up, and the more people we can completely change like these things in their lives, it changes how they feel about themselves, about the world, and about everyone around them.
Yes, I got to tell you now. I just had someone ask me. I know there's a lot of states. They wanted to know: are you in Georgia?
Yes.
Okay.
So just go to mindfulwellness.com. And so it's one L. I think the banner is a little bit, well, we'll talk about it next time, but it's mindful, MINDFUL, wellness.com.
That's my probably stupid spelling.
That's okay.
When you put them together, spell check doesn't recognize it as well.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can reach your practice. There's several ways, because we have people who are watching on TV now. We're scrolling the number, but those of them are on podcast or radio. How do they reach you?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, mindfulwellness.com, you can make appointments, contact us, or text us at 310-220-4543. Again, 310-220-4543. But going on the website, we're in the middle of a huge website redesign. And again, in January, we're going to have really good deals. We're going to have, like a New Year's thing. I'm going to try to set up like talks, and we're going to get our website redone and everything. And so really I encourage everybody to check us out. The new website will go live in probably, I think, a few days, but we're going to keep working on that. And we really wanted to represent our brand, because I think before it wasn't really like, marketing is a thing we're learning about. And so, we're trying to really represent what we actually do. And so really encouraging everybody to go to mindfulwellness.com. And you can make appointments, you could contact us. We're going to have newsletters and a bunch of stuff also that talk more about this stuff.
Dr. Gupta, I don't say this about very many of our experts, but you are totally God sent. You really are.
Sweet, Steve. That's really
sweet. Dr. Gupta will be back.
I don't know if my wife will agree with you, but yeah.
Dr. Gupta will be back again with us next month. And Dr. Gupta, have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year.
You too.
And we'll see you next month.
Yeah, let's do it like early January if we can.
That'll be fine. I'll get with Miranda.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
That's Dr. Vivek Gupta, one of the finest weight loss doctors in the country. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.